How you doing, guys? I'm just going to run through some of my Fanatec wheel settings. If anyone else has got the Fanatec wheel and is looking at what settings to have. I've had this wheel for quite a while now. So the sensation I set to 900, force feedback to 100, shock off, ABS 100, drift -5, brake force 100%. And I'll go through a few of the settings in game. This is in Project Cars 2. Just go down through this configuration here. And then I'll move on to the wheel in the game, in the video itself. Yeah, so just do a little chat about the force feedback. I've had the wheel now for probably near 2 months now, 3 months even, and really happy with the wheel, pedals and everything. Just looking at some force feedback settings for Project Cars 2. And generally I flip between informative and raw, and they're the only two settings I use with the version 2.5 wheelbase. I don't touch gain at all. I still have this at 100% all the time. The only things I alter are volume and effects. Don't generally touch tone either, and I'll show you in the game settings themselves why. So if we just start this up, and I'll just come to this screen here. Well, down in this bottom corner here, this is where you want to be looking at your force feedback all the time, or at least to get a base setup at each circuit. So for each one of these bars, you've got 6 bars here, the vertical ones. You see, each one of them is based on 100% of the first 5 bars, so each one has 20% of the force feedback, and I'm not 100% what's going on in each one. It's not as good as on the PC, where you can see this graph all the time that's working out what everything's doing. But the principle of these bars here on Xbox One, or probably on PS4 as well, is in this last bar that it's usually red when it lights up. You don't really want to see any red in the last bar, because that's what's causing the clipping. It's giving too much feedback for the wheel to give you that amount of information. So any more information that filters over into this very last bar, which is usually red, is information that's redundant. It's not giving you any information at all because it's just too much. So then I'll do a few laps, and if you just I'll do a few turns. This acts as like a history graph, so it doesn't give feedback constantly. It will take snippets from, I don't know, it's a 5-second span, or it's certainly a span of some time increment. But in here it'll show you so that you can look at it from time to time and see whether you're getting any red in this last bar. So I'll just turn a few laps, and if you just have a little look at that. Let's add a little bit more weight to the wheel so you can see what happens when it is just too much. instantly we're getting a red bar. So that's just far too much. This is really not what you want to see in your wheel. You're just going to end up ruining your wheel in a very short space of time. So if you see that, best off coming down to and just reducing the wheel. This is only reducing the weight of the wheel. You're not going to suffer with any feedback information being lost. It's just literally the weight of the wheel. So if we dial it back to 80, see what we get there. I'll restart it. So we don't want to be seeing that, it's nearly halfway. No, already we've got a quarter of that. So it's getting better. So it's getting much better, but still getting a little bit too much clipping. So take it down to 70, see how that goes. And generally I have these set because the most important thing for me, you can go from one spectrum to the other here. And this is curb and undulation sensation through the wheel, and this is tyre slip. So for me, I want to feel tyre slip more than anything else. Yeah, so if we read up here, it goes from 0, where the surface detail is more pronounced, but there is less feel when it comes to tyre slip, which is in this wheel here, and this is accentuating those effects. FX affects the strength of the surface detail. Note that this is also dependent on the flavour that was chosen in the game options. Using a higher setting will make the effects of surface detail such as road, bumps, curbs stronger and more pronounced, but could potentially lead to clipping with larger and bigger force feedback spikes. Well, I want this as max as I can possibly get it for information without causing clipping, and I've reduced this sensation, or reduced the clipping, by reducing the wheel weight itself. So obviously initially before that we had it on 80, so let's see if this has brought it down just that little bit more, reducing the wheel weight to 70. So that's what we don't want to see, this red on the bottom here. So it's still a nice weight in the wheel, still loads of feedback. Still get a little smidge there. I've still got a tiny bit, so we could probably just knock that down to 65 maybe, and just get rid of that last bit of clipping. So if you look at the red bar again down the bottom here, you see this tiny bit we've just got to get rid of. So there's the tiniest bit there, if you see. And for me, I want my wheel to last as long as it'll last. So why suffer clipping when you can see that you're getting clipping and you're still not reducing the amount of information that's coming back through the wheel? You've got to remember the red bar on the side is information that you're not getting because the wheel's already doing too much. So if you can get your wheel to work to where it's comfortable and the information it's giving you is not above and beyond what it's capable of doing. We're just trying to get rid of that tiny little, it's a smidgen. I'm still getting good information through the wheel. It's gone now, look. Tiniest bit was there. See what happens if we jump over this massive sausage curve here, look. To get the tiniest little smidgen there, look. Which is what you want. It doesn't even matter if that gets quite a big spike every now and then. As long as it's not happening through normal driving, that's where you want to get your wheels set up to. So if you've got any questions about that little tutorial, please just drop us an email, drop us a like. This is for anyone that's on Xbox. And catch you again. Enjoy racing.